Now at 5 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, ICE teams up with local officers for a major operation. A look at what came out of it. Plus, a former Texas teacher and counselor faces child pornography charges. The search for possible victims. And despite heat precautions, a teen athlete loses his life. What happened at practice?
Well, we had a line of thunder showers that rolled through the area. Live picture here. We've got the clouds. It's not over with just yet. In fact, it's going to continue overnight and into tomorrow. We'll have all your weather coming up in just a moment.
Plus, the simple way you can speak up for children who cannot speak for themselves. You're watching 25 News now at 5. Good afternoon and thanks for being with us. I'm Shauna Curry. An immigration sweep in Victoria ends with more than 24 people in custody. ICE, along with local and state law enforcement, carried out the operation on Tuesday. An ICE spokesperson said officers approached multiple people walking on foot along Main Street who took off on foot, including one who ran into the Texas Concrete Company. Agents searched the property with permission and found about 15 people inside who were here illegally. Another 12 were arrested while trying to get away. In all, 26 were taken to a federal processing center. One man is facing criminal charges for illegally re-entering the country. A joint investigation between DPS and Homeland Security has led to the arrest of 56-year-old Robert Jerome Custer of Abilene. He is charged with accessing child pornography. Now investigators say that Custer previously worked as a teacher and counselor in several Texas cities. Now DPS is looking for possible victims from his time in those roles. If you have information, you are asked to contact the DPS Criminal Investigation Division in Abilene. Well, some rain and thunder this afternoon. So what can we expect as we go into the evening? Let's go to Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez for a first look outside. And Mac, I understand there's some football scrimmages and some outdoor things planned for this evening.
Yes, there are quite a few scrimmages planned for tonight, and it's going to be catch as you catch can. I mean, they can play in water and mud, but they don't want to play in lightning. That's the biggest concern that we have. Now, we had a line come through. Right now on Navarro, it's a little bit quiet, but there's more thunderstorms even as we speak. They're all down south, actually in the Calhoun County area at this hour. Here's that little front that came into North Texas. It is the destabilizing line. You can see how everything is starting right on there, and then the upper winds is taking everything south. We're going to do this again overnight and into tomorrow. So look for more thunder shower activity, and it's how lucky are you to get through the night without any rain? That's up to you. We'll have more on your forecast and take a look at the tropics coming up in just a moment. Shauna?
A Texas high school football player has died after collapsing during practice this week. Lancaster High School sophomore Preston Malone III became ill during conditioning drills on Monday. Coaches had moved the workout indoors because of the heat. The district says Malone had a temperature of 104 degrees before being rushed to Children's Medical Center in Dallas. He died more than 24 hours later. The district says it followed all UIL heat protocols, canceled Thursday night's scrimmage, and is providing grief counselors for students and staff. Uvalde school officials are holding back key emails tied to the Robb Elementary massacre, even after a court ordered them released. One email sent 9 months before the shooting warned that classroom doors could not be locked. Another showed district leaders asking for a settlement offer from the attorney for school police chief Pete Arredondo before he was fired. The records were supposed to be made public this month after a media lawsuit. It's unclear why they weren't, and the district is directing questions to its law firm. The Republican bill in Texas that redraws the state congressional maps is one step closer to becoming law. Texas House Republicans passed the bill after hours of debate yesterday. Today, the Senate takes it up, where it's also expected to pass, but not without pushback from Democrats both in and beyond Texas. ABC's Christiane Cordero has the details.
Today, the controversial new congressional maps in Texas face their final hurdle before going to the governor's desk. The Texas State Senate is set to vote on the bill that redraws district lines in a way intended to help Republicans pick up more seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. Congressional maps are usually redrawn once a decade to reflect changes in population from the latest census. But President Trump asked Texas to take this up now, ahead of next year's midterm elections. Republicans hold a narrow 3-seat majority in the U.S. House. Democratic lawmakers in Texas fled the state for 2 weeks to delay the bill, then brought their protest to the Capitol floor ahead of yesterday's vote.
These maps are deepening the struggle for communities of color that will only worsen because one small man in D.C. demanded it.
Their Republican colleagues are pushing back on allegations that the maps were drawn illegally or undemocratically.
You own the walkout. You said you did that. But don't come into this body and say we didn't include you. You left us for 18 days, and that's wrong.
The Texas battle has sparked redistricting conversations in several states nationwide. California is proposing new maps of their own meant to offset the number of seats Texas Republicans are trying to gain.
Yes, we'll fight fire with fire. Yes, we will push back. It's not about whether we play hardball anymore. It's about how we play hardball.
Once they become law, the new Texas congressional maps are likely to face legal challenges. Democrats allege Republicans targeted communities of color, which is illegal. Republicans reject that, saying they redrew the maps to create a political advantage, which is legal. Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
The Golden Crescent court-appointed special advocates are looking for more volunteers to advocate for children in need. A court-appointed special advocate, or CASA, is someone appointed by a judge to work with children in foster care, children who cannot safely stay in their own home. Golden Crescent CASA serves Victoria County and 7 surrounding counties. About 30 more volunteers are currently needed in the Golden Crescent CASA service area.
It is so vitally important. It's not only our mission to use these trained volunteers to advocate for the children and families that they serve, but it is also our goal to make sure that every child and family has that dedicated volunteer. It's so very important, and we're working really hard to make sure everybody has ample representation.
Sneed says it's a long process to be appointed, but it's worth it to help a child find the best possible home. An information session will be held next Wednesday at 1 O'Connor Plaza for anyone interested in learning more. Here's our viewer poll this evening. What do you think is most important for children in foster care? Stability and safety, emotional support, or quick placement in a permanent home? We want to hear from you. Visit crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part. And 90%, that is a huge majority, feel that stability and safety are the most important things for children in foster care. So we'll have another look at these numbers coming up on 25 News Now at 6. An update to a story we brought you this week about a woman dealing with damage from drainage issues. A spokesperson from the Texas General Land Office responded to us with the following information. They said in using federal disaster recovery funding from HUD, the program is required to ensure that construction meets all federal, state, and local building ordinances and regulations. The home passed inspections by both the City of Victoria's permitting office and an independent Texas Real Estate Commission inspector. There is also an elevation certificate signed by a civil engineer with Cobalt Engineering, which is required by federal law on federally funded projects. However, the neighborhood is very close to the west outfall and is flood prone. To help with flooding in the area, the GLO has allocated more than $30 million to the city and county for flood and drainage projects. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 5. The Menendez case back in the spotlight. Why today could change everything for the brothers. Plus, why experts say exercise is more important than ever for users of GLP-1 medications. Parole hearings have started for the Menendez brothers more than 3 decades after they murdered their parents in Beverly Hills. Today's hearing begins with Eric at his prison facility outside San Diego. ABC's Alex Stone is there.
No decision yet on parole for the Menendez brothers as Eric Menendez's hearing continues. Facing a California parole board remotely via video from his incarceration, Menendez explaining how he has rehabilitated himself in the 36 years and 1 day since he and his brother Lyle murdered their parents in Beverly Hills. The parole board weighing whether Menendez would pose an unreasonable risk to society if he were to be released.
The parole board has to make a determination on public safety. They can't just look at the seriousness of the crime. They have to look at all other evidence.
The brothers have long maintained the shooting was in self-defense because they say Eric was sexually abused by their father. That is a claim Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman says the evidence does not support. And he says they've told lies about the crime for over 3 decades.
The Menendez brothers have not exhibited this full insight into their actions. And since it is a key factor in determining whether or not someone's a risk of danger to society, they have not met this key factor. And at this point, they are not ready for parole.
On Friday, Lyle Menendez will have his parole hearing, the brothers getting the chance in front of the board after a judge in May changed their sentences from life without parole to life with the chance of parole. Numerous family members want to see the brothers released sooner rather than later. Their Aunt Terry, who's been battling cancer, tells ABC News she fears she may not live long enough to see them get out.
It's a whole branch of my family erased. The ones that are gone and the ones that are still paying for it, which were kids.
Eric Menendez should find out later tonight if he is granted parole, but it will not be over at that point. There could still be months of legal review, and the governor will have to weigh in. Alex Stone, ABC News, San Diego County.
More than 78,000 Jeep Wranglers are being recalled due to a technical glitch. Parent company Stellantis says the remote start antenna cable for these vehicles can get pinched, causing the tire pressure monitoring system warning light to be faulty. Not having accurate tire pressure information can increase the risk of an accident. Owners of affected Jeeps can have the cable replaced free of charge at a dealership. More than 15 million Americans are now finding weight loss success thanks to GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro. But experts say if patients aren't careful, they could lose more than just fat. In today's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither has more on the exercises that are critically important for people using these medications.
They've become an important weapon in the battle against obesity. GLP-1 medications can lead to significant weight loss, but experts warn the number on the scale can't decipher between fat and muscle.
The key to weight loss, and especially weight loss maintenance, is always going to be diet and exercise.
It's unclear how much muscle a patient on these drugs may lose, but studies have indicated anywhere from 15 to 60% of the lost weight is lean muscle mass, meaning if you shed 50 pounds, you'll potentially be losing 7.5 to 30 pounds of lean muscle. That's why strength and resistance training is crucial, says Cleveland Clinic Dr. Paminda Kabandugama.
Things like free weights, things like the weight machines help. In a lot of my patients who might be a little bit older, I do recommend things like water exercises.
Every week, Kabandugama says all adults should aim for 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity like a brisk walk, water aerobics, pushing a lawnmower, or playing a sport like doubles tennis. The CDC says you could also do 75 minutes of vigorous activity each week. That could include jogging or running, swimming laps, or playing basketball. Kabandugama says protein is also key to building muscle. On average, he recommends about 35 grams of protein with every meal.
We want them to make sure that, they are still preserving muscle, or even maybe gaining a little bit of muscle while they are technically losing weight.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The doctor says it's also important to stay hydrated. He says drinking plenty of water not only helps with appetite control, but also plays a role in helping the kidneys process proteins. Hurricane Harvey destroyed the Aransas County courthouse. 8 years later, it's still not finished. To read this full Texas Tribune article, come to crossroadstoday.com. Hurricane Erin remains a Category 2 storm as of this afternoon. The National Hurricane Center said Erin was tracking away from the East Coast through the Atlantic and expected to lose strength through the day. Erin packs a massive wind field reaching nearly 600 miles from end to end. That makes it larger than roughly 90% of the tropical storms that have traveled through that same part of the Atlantic Ocean. Despite not making landfall, Erin has been a major disruption to many coastal communities with dangerous rip currents and rough surf.
We'll be taking a look at Erin's path and its future and what is coming up next. Right about now, we're at 82 degrees, cloudy skies out there. We had some thunder activity. We got 21 of an inch of rain out at the airport. I'm pretty sure that we got up to 98 degrees. Now remember, the heating makes the air rise. Then it cools and it condenses and we get thunder showers. We're probably going to do that again tomorrow. More coming up in just a moment. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Live shot coming out. You can see the dark clouds out there still. We had the thunderstorms earlier. It's not completely over with. In fact, they're likely to see a few more rolling around for the evening. And then tomorrow with heating, well, this is all going to start all over again. In addition to the heating, we have this little frontal system up here in North Texas. You can see how the storms are basically firing right there. Basically, it's an instability line. We've got warm, humid air here, somewhat dry air to the north. When they two collide, we have a little bit of lifting. You see all that stormy weather developing there, and that is all drifting southward. As a matter of fact, a lot of this is going to be going all the way down to the Rio Grande, as a matter of fact, later tonight. As I mentioned yesterday, all the high pressure has moved to the west, so they're having their heat wave out here, okay? And so that allows lower pressures on the eastern side of the country. And then, of course, you add Erin to it, which drops the pressure even lower. So we've got a little bit of an instability opportunity here. This is going to be lasting for maybe 3 days, and then this whole big thing sort of scoots back up on top of us and gets us back to that regularly scheduled summer. So here's the I-10 corridor, and there you can see the thunder showers. That's the one that passed our area about noon today. At this very hour, you can see that drop in south. There was a storm to the north. Oh, there it is. It's in Cuero. So Cuero is probably getting the heavier rain right about now. That's right there at 5 o'clock. And so it may be clear here in Victoria right now, but it's not clear anywhere else. As a matter of fact, in Palacios, we've got a big thunderstorm rolling through that area as well. So let's see how much rainfall we got. It wasn't a lot. There you see Victoria County, a little bit of activity to the west side of the county, and the south. The eastern side didn't get much, but I do know that Calhoun County got quite a bit of a dump as of rain. So tomorrow, this is Friday, excessive rainfall is possible from our area all the way up 59 to the Houston area and on into East Texas. Well, as we mentioned, Erin is finally moving away from land after causing all kinds of problems there. Still, we have some watches up for the Delmarva area, winds are at 100 miles an hour, but you can see how it is moving offshore. Nonetheless, it's going to be rough along the Long Island. Long Island and New England because of the heavy surf that's being kicked up, but they're not getting a direct impact, which is the one that makes a big difference, you know. So it's begun to weaken also, coming down to a 2 tonight and then off to a 1 later in the next couple of days. The next storm, which would be the F storm, Fernand, is right here. I mean, it's see the cloud deck right there? That's the stormy weather. It has not organized yet, but very likelihood that this will become the next storm and it'll follow right behind Aaron. Then we go over here, we have the G storm, that would be Gabrielle, and it has a 40% chance of developing in the next 7 days. So we're talking a bit far out, you know, 5 to 7 days from now, but let's just say the tropics are still active. All right, let's take a look at your forecast for tomorrow in Port Lavaca. I think it starts off as a pretty good looking day. We'll see a lot of clouds then develop in the afternoon and then the showers begin. All of this will be afternoon activity, so you might get something done early in the day, but later in the day you'll see that shower activity roll around. So tomorrow the peak, then Saturday a little bit of a decrease, and then back to sunny, hot, and steamy as we get to Sunday, Monday, and on into next week. That's your 7-day forecast. Reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that, put Crossroads Today on your phone. Shauna, we'll toss it back to you.
Still to come, 2 retail giants head in opposite directions. Why one's winning while the other struggles. Wall Street closed in the red today. The Dow down 153 points. The S&P 500 dropped 26 points, and the Nasdaq down 73 points. The price of oil is up 76 cents to $63.48 per barrel. Taking one last trip before this summer is over is going to be a little bit easier on your wallet. AAA says if you want to fly, domestic round-trip flights are 6% less expensive than they were this time last year. National hotel rates are down 11%, with car rental prices 3% lower. Booking data shows the most popular U.S. destinations for the upcoming Labor Day weekend include Seattle, Orlando, and New York City. People planning to hit the road by car are also getting a financial break. Prices at the pump have fallen to a low not seen since summer of 2021. As for those who want to make an international trip, hotel stays are slightly cheaper, but airfare is up. Two of the nation's biggest retailers are moving in opposite directions. Walmart reported sales up nearly 5% at U.S. stores open at least a year, thanks to largely groceries, which now make up more than half its sales. The company also raised its 2025 outlook. Meanwhile, Target says sales have fallen for a third straight quarter. CEO Brian Cornell is stepping down after 11 years as analysts point to struggles selling non-essential items with shoppers tightening their budgets. For now, lower U.S. tariffs on cars imported from the European Union will have to wait. The trade agreement between the EU and U.S. is poised to cut the U.S. import tax on cars from the EU from over 27% to 15%. But details released today show the lower rate will not take effect until the EU takes separate action to reduce its own tariffs on U.S. goods. Apple TV Plus is raising prices. New subscribers will now pay $12.99 a month, up $3. Current subscribers will see the hike at their next renewal. The increase comes as Apple rolls out new shows and movies. Unlike other major streamers, Apple TV Plus still does not offer a cheaper ad-supported option. A tech industry report says the service is losing more than $1 billion a year as spending on content outpaces revenue. Apple has not commented on that. Well, from rock bottom to giving up. Up next, one man's mission on the streets of LA. On a sidewalk in Los Angeles, barber Beraldo Gabaldon gives free haircuts to the homeless, hoping a fresh look can spark a fresh start. The 35-year-old from New Mexico battled addiction for 15 years before getting sober earlier this year. Now he spends hours at MacArthur Park each day with clippers and scissors, sharing his story while cutting hair. Gabaldon says he relates to his customers because he's been in their shoes and believes even a simple haircut can inspire change. For him, it's about redemption, hope, and helping people feel human again. And I feel like that's a great way to break the ice too, and get that conversation going with someone who you don't know if they're open to.
Yeah, but some people are so far down that they just think there's any hope, and then there's hope because there he is to do something. And I think that's mostly it. I mean, it's kind of a mental thing.
Yeah, it's like a transformation.
Exactly, exactly. Well, folks, for us, we had the thunder showers this afternoon. There's more tonight. And there's more tomorrow afternoon with a little bit of heating. They're all kicking off in the afternoon. So if you got something to do Friday early, that's good. Friday late, well, we may be dealing with this.
All right, keep that umbrella handy the next couple of days. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here at 6.